All right, guys, bear with me, okay? Let me admit to you up front, we're about to go into Crazyville. But hear me out on this, because the post-fight press conference brought up something very interesting over the weekend, and that was Dana White being confronted with the fact that Volkanovski is going under hand surgery. So you've got Rodriguez, who we believed was going to be the number one contender with a victory. He got the victory. Oh, by the way, you got Josh Emmett with the power of Uriah Faber and alpha male behind him. I mean, these are pretty even. I got to tell you, the fight going on between Rodriguez and Emmett, though it just started, I must tell you, this is neck and neck. Truly, this is neck and neck. Like, if you told me Emmett's going to get the fight or Yair, I wouldn't be excited. I would be disappointed. If you told me Yair was going to get, I'd be disappointed that I don't get to see Emmett. Right, it's one of those, but also vice versa. The reason I bring this to you is someone at the press conference said, should we do an interim title? And Dana even weighed in on it. Dana repeated it back to him. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett for the interim title. I don't hate that idea. Okay. Why? Why would they even suggest the interim title? I mean, there's nothing that we want from a fighter. And this goes back to 1993, the first time we set this octagon up in the first place. But it also carries another 100 years of tradition with boxers. There's nothing more that we want from a champion than that he stays busy. A closet champion, one that hides, is a problem for everybody. Problem for business, problem for the fans, it's a problem for himself, it's a problem for your division, it's a problem for morale, it's a problem for pundits. And I got to bring that to you because Volkanovski is anything but, and I don't really see him getting his credit. That's not right, guys. We're very quick to point the finger when somebody does something that we feel aggrieves us. But the praise that should be getting put on Volkanovski, he fights nonstop. His turnaround time is incredible. That fight with Max was the most dangerous fight that he possibly could have taken. An older fighter that's trying to push this off, he's going to be setting a precedent by going out there a third time with a guy who's in the first two meetings did not split with him. Everything about that fight, Volkanovski taking it, then it comes out to be on short notice on International Fight Weekend when his own teammate is the main event, which means his head coach is who knows where. It was so problematic, and he didn't say a word except for yes. But I bring that to you, because if we're not going to give the guy the credit that he deserves, and maybe he hasn't done a good enough job of putting this information right in front of our face, we got to pay him back on the other end, right? When you're thinking about interiming his title, because he's going to have a hand surgery that puts about, 4 months? 4 months would be the average time that every single champion within the division takes in between contests. And whether you're locked up in there and actually scrapping it out within 4 months, or you're getting the call, or you're just right in the middle of the media, it's a pretty broad-sided number, but it's a pretty fair number. So now how long does it get? A guy that's anything but a closet champion, who's been active, who's been busy, who wants to do it all, who's getting this surgery because somebody told him for his licensing he needs to get it. He doesn't want the damn thing in the first place. He's going to be out 7 months. Do you interim the belt? I get that we're going to fiercely adhere to the rules that we make up on the spot. I understand that. But I still want you to answer the question. And I am tricking you. It is a trick question. I'm going somewhere with this. So if Volkanovski is going to be out and arbitrary, we're making this up, 7 months, as opposed to the 4 that we're used to, do you interim the belt? Now, I love the interim title. I think it's one of the great things ever done in our sport. I really mean that. I would have had a dream to fight for an interim championship, truly. I would have gone after the undisputed. I would have tried for the interim. I think that they all count. I've never personally cared what you put in front of world champion. I was a college wrestler. People like to make a big deal about the Division Ones as opposed to the Division Two, as opposed to NAIA. I can tell you, when I'm out having a barbecue with old wrestling friends and one of them spouts off that he's a national champion, stops right there. We don't start getting into for what school and for what weight class. This is my own opinion. But I also think as a marketing tool, it's wildly effective. The one thing that the interim title does do, for the people that are against it, it for sure, and this is possibly the only thing that this damn thing does, it for sure alerts us, the world, who the number one contender is. Can we at least agree on that? Now, the reason I told you this is a trick question, the reason I told you I was going to go somewhere else, I would love to hear, in 20 words or less, your argument against the interim title. Not specifically in Volkanovski's case, with Yair and Emmett. Just your argument against it. Why we should not be having a belt. Why the posters shouldn't look better and the night is capped off better and this guy, whoever he is, has something, momentum that he could put on the mantle. Give me 20 words or less as to why you don't like it. Then give me 20 words why you do. And then let me hit you with my final point. Would it hurt anything to have an interim champion in every weight class at all times? What would it hurt? If we're openly acknowledging that in all the years that we've done this, and this guy got a year, and this guy got 3.5 years, and this guy only got 4 months, and when these interim titles are coming in, what would be bad about constantly having a number one contenders match that's crowned off with an interim title? I mean, if a champion fights today, but we got another show tomorrow, he's not fighting tomorrow, so in the interim, I mean, it would fit the definition, and I'm not going to get my way. But if I can at least conceptually get my way, I can bring more of you on board with the interim idea. But if we're going to have an interim championship, if you think it's appropriate, just because Volk is having surgery, that somebody else comes in and fights for the belt, if you've believed in that, and I don't have a problem with it, by the way, but I'm saying if you support that, why wouldn't you support what I'm saying? Which is, let's always have an interim title. Let's have a heavyweight title fight coming up. Let's have a heavyweight interim match coming up. Let's always pass that belt. Let's always know who the number one contender is. Let's create a little bit of an idea of a structured format. I mean, I'll tell you right now, guys, 3 years from now, if you look back, we got Curtis Blades coming up against Tom Aspinall. 3 years from now, when you're looking back, and I tell you that was a main event and it was not for a title, your jaw's going to drop. So what are you talking about? How'd you get those two in there together? How was that not a who was the champion at the time? We're not going to do this. There's not going to always be an interim title. I'm asking you for conversation purposes. How far out there am I with this? Scale of 1 to 10. How far out there did I go? I would like to see every weight class at all times have a champion and an interim champion.